Welcome to the Crimson Engine. My name is 𝙍𝙁𝙄𝙄𝙗. Today we are talking the new Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro and how it stacks up against the Canon Cinema C70. They are both entry-level cinema cameras with some hybrid capabilities, but they are in vastly different price ranges. The Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro is $2,500. This is $5,500, so half the price, less than half the price. But is it half the camera? I want to go through a couple of the features and how the two of them compare and exactly which camera is the best choice for your what you want to shoot, where you are in your career, and what your price point is. So the Pocket 6K Pro has basically kept the same sensor and the same body, same mount, and basically fixed a lot of the big problems on the original Pocket 6K. So it now has a tilting screen, so you're able to use it down low or up high. You're able to do 2, 4, or 6 stops of ND, just like the C70 has. It goes up to, you can combine the layers in this one and go up to, I think, 12 stops. And it's also taken a big step to solving the abysmal battery life with the LP6s on the 6K. It's moved to the Sony NP batteries, and you can get 3 of them in the optional hand grip. So you should almost be able to shoot for, with 6 of those, you should be able to shoot all day, much as you can with the BP batteries on the C70. Now I should say up front, I have not shot with the 6K Pocket Pro, but I have shot with the original 6K, and it is more or less the same camera with the added benefits of the 3 things I just spoke about. Different batteries, ND, the tiltable screen. As an owner of the C70, you would think that I think this is the better camera. And in some ways it is, but value for money, the Pocket 6K is far and away more bang for your buck. So which one should you buy? Well, it depends on a variety of factors. Let's talk about the ways in which the 2 cameras differ. Dynamic range is probably the biggest and most noticeable thing. You're getting 16 stops according to Canon on the C70 and 11 stops on the Blackmagic Pocket according to Blackmagic. Probably more like 13 and 10 or 9, 9.5 usable stops. But that still is a big difference. The sensor is the most expensive part of the camera, and the sensor on this camera probably costs more than the entire Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro. This is going to come very handy if you're shooting high dynamic range images. So you're shooting people outside in bright sun and you don't want the skies to blow out, or you don't want the shadows to crush to black. This is going to become very handy if you're a newer cinematographer and you can't always nail your exposure. You're able to save some of that in post. So dynamic range wise, I would give a clear edge to the C70. As far as shooting modes go, there are far more opportunities on the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro. That camera can shoot RAW. That camera can shoot a variety of ProRes flavors, RAW and several different compressions. The C70 is limited to XFAVC 10-bit 422, and then it goes all the way down to 1080 420 in 120p. The C70, this Blackmagic Pocket, has a variety of smaller, faster frame rates as well, up to 120p. And RAW is a big help if you're a beginner filmmaker or not as confident of what you're shooting. You can basically set it to you could set it to the same color temperature and then adjust that color temperature in post. You can do a lot with the XFAVC on this camera, but not everything. If you totally mess up the color temperature, you can't. If you shoot tungsten for daylight, you can fix some of it, but not all of it. On the Blackmagic Pocket shooting RAW, you can absolutely fix a lot of it. It does fill up your cards much, much quicker if you're shooting RAW. You get about 1/10 or 1/8 of the space. So you pay for cards for that flexibility, but it is still good to have. Accessories wise, I would give the very clear edge to the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. It's the same body as the original one. It's been out forever. There are dozens of cages out there, all of them pretty cheap and affordable. There are a couple of cages released for the C70. Some of them are half cages, meaning just top and bottom plates. Others are full cages. They're all quite expensive. None of them, I think maybe the 𝙍𝙐𝙄𝙗 one is shipping, but they're hard to get right now. They won't be out for another month or 2. So if you're planning on kitting this camera out a lot and modifying it into a cinema camera, you're probably, right now at least, going to have a better time with the 6K. Resolution wise, 4K versus 6K. If you need a native 6K sensor, you're going to have a better time with the Blackmagic Pocket. The 6K Pocket does have some autofocus capabilities, but the C70 and the Canon cinema line of cameras are far and away probably best in class as far as autofocus goes. You have all different modes. You have face tracking, you have face priority. You're able to adjust how quickly the camera snaps. You have touch autofocus. You have the focus guide, which tells you how in and out of focus you are on a cinema lens like this one. Much more solid solution for autofocus on the Canon cameras. One big edge that the C70 has over the Pocket 6K is that that's an EF mount and this is an RF mount. The reason that's great is that you can, like I do here, use Canon's focal reducer to turn your RF into a full frame EF with no loss of optical quality. So which camera is best for which person? Well, I think the Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro is an epic solution for first-time filmmakers, student filmmakers, action filmmakers, people who need 5 or 6 models, right? If you can buy 4 Pocket 6Ks for under $10,000, whereas 4 of these guys is going to cost you $20,000. If you're doing multiple camera stuff, the cost really adds up. As far as image quality goes, I personally would give a clear edge in image quality to the Canon. The sensor is just nicer, the dynamic range is better, the autofocus is better. Not to take anything away from Blackmagic, but the color science, though it is going to get an upgrade, really has struggled against the more expensive cinema cameras like ARRI Red and Canon, and Sony for that matter, because you really are shooting on the cheapest sensor available. Blackmagic also doesn't have the brand value of even the Canon, and certainly not something like the Red or the ARRI. It's very hard to rent a Blackmagic camera to production because people know what they cost. They're famously low cost. You can turn around and kit this thing out and say, okay, I need $400 a day for my Canon rig, and most producers wouldn't blink an eye. But if you say I need $400 a day for my Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro, people are going to say, well, that's a $2,500 camera. I'd like to, maybe $50 or $100 a day. But to me, the real difference between these is that as you shoot with a camera, you get to know it, you get to experiment with it over hours and dozens of hours, hundreds of hours. You get to get really good with a particular camera system. And if you're a professional, those hundreds of hours are very expensive. That's time you have to sort of put into a camera to learn how it works. Now, if you're a beginner filmmaker and you want to put that time into the Blackmagic system, yes, you can go up to the 𝙁𝙁 6K or 𝙁𝙁 12K, but they're not really industry cameras. They're very good cameras. They're not really widely used in the industry. If you learn on something like the Canon C70, you can take that exact knowledge to the C300 Mark III or the C700, though that's not used as often, and know exactly how those cameras work. You can sort of do your training on a $5,000 camera for a $15,000 camera, where that you'll have to, once you outgrow the limitations of the Pocket 6K Pro, you'll sort of need to start that journey again. Obviously, I'm biased, so take this with a grain of salt. I have a variety of courses for the Canon cinema cameras, the 3 that I spoke about, and I'm working on the C70 course right now. It is an amazing camera for the price, but I understand that it's above a lot of people's price range. And if you're looking to get into making films right now with a great camera, the Pocket 6K Pro is an awesome choice. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.